What's going on, everybody? It's Brendan Abbott coming to you with the KBR Sports Podcast. You already know the best sports podcast of your 24-hour day. Hopefully everybody's enjoying themselves so far off in the day, getting things kicked off the right way with KBR Sports. Whether you're tuning in on your way to work, whether you're tuning in on your way back from work, or tuning in during work, way to make sure you're making the most of your day by listening to the KBR Sports Podcast. So guys, got a little segment to talk about today with the NFL and everything. Kelvin Benjamin kind of sounding off on Cam Newton a little bit. He kind of gave his thoughts and opinions on Cam Newton as a quarterback, it seems like, and giving his opinions on essentially how he felt like he shouldn't have ever went to the Panthers and that it wasn't exactly the best fit for him. So this is what Kelvin Benjamin had to say. I mean, I felt like I would have been even more successful if I would have, looking back on it, I should have been drafted by somebody else. I should have never went to Carolina. Truly, I just think Carolina was bad for me. It was a bad fit from the get-go. If you would have put me with any other quarterback, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Any other accurate quarterback like Rodgers or Eli Manning or Big Ben, anybody. Quarterbacks with knowledge and that know how to place a ball and give you a better chance to catch the ball. It just felt like I wasn't in that position. So, this is Kelvin Benjamin's way of essentially, because he is criticizing Cam Newton, and I think it's something that's not beyond the realm of comprehension, that a lot of people do scrutinize Cam Newton's accuracy and how accurate he's been throughout his career. Cam Newton has not been the most accurate quarterback at all. I think this past season he had like a 59% completion percentage. So it's no surprise that accuracy is not one of his strong suits. He had a 59.1 completion percentage, yeah. And then like the year before it, that was probably his worst year, where he had a 52.9 completion percentage. So Cam was really bad 2 years ago, and then last year he went back to more of his mean average in terms of his performance. But then he reeled off guys like Aaron Rodgers or Eli Manning or Big Ben. And funny enough, to me, when you look at the guys he reeled off, he reeled off Eli Manning, and then Eli Manning, whose career completion percentage is a 59.8. So it's not like Eli Manning has gotten better, or obviously as the years have transpired and gone over. But one thing that it seems as though people tend to do with Cam Newton, because Cam Newton, even though Eli Manning is 59.8, Cam Newton is 58.5. So it's not like Eli Manning is this huge jump over Cam Newton. And I will say that Cam Newton as an individual talent, there's classes and tiers in the NFL for quarterbacks. You have the A class, which is the Rodgers, the Brady, the Drew Brees. Then some people will, however you feel that. I think Russell Wilson also goes into that class, honestly, just because of how good he is. And sometimes he doesn't get that recognition of being that good. But then you have the tier, because I feel like Big Ben used to be on that tier, but I don't think he, with all those weapons in Pittsburgh, the numbers don't bear it out that he is on that tier, because he has all those weapons, yet the numbers don't reflect him having all those weapons. Like, his numbers should be better, I feel as though, with him having all those weapons. Sort of like when you gave Brady Randy Moss, what happened? Brady had the best season of his career. He literally went out there and was a monster with those weapons. And it's weird to me, because it's one of those things that, not that when you get weapons you all of a sudden shouldn't, because obviously if you have like a running back that's a premier running back, those guys are going to get touches. But even look at a guy like Drew Brees this year. He had Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara on his roster, and he could do a completion percentage of 72% and threw for 4,334 yards, 23 touchdowns, which is down from his normal because they were running the ball a lot more, but he only had 8 interceptions. So those are the kind of things I'm talking about. So he still threw for more yards than Big Ben, had a way higher completion percentage, and he only had 5 less touchdowns and 6 less interceptions. So those are the kind of things. Big Ben's like right on, however you want to judge it out, he's right on the cusp of being in that tier to me. But I think I cap it off with Rodgers, Brady, Brees, and Russell Wilson. Then the next tier is Big Ben, then the Matt Ryans, then the, however you want to say, the Cam Newtons, the Eli Mannings, and the Phillip Rivers, and so on in that next tier. And the reason why I think so many people sometimes lose me when they don't want to put Cam Newton in that next tier is because Cam Newton, as a overall player, matches in production to those other quarterbacks. When you calculate his running touchdowns, and his running production in with his total production, he's right on par with all the Class B quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, he matches him. He matches Kirk Cousins. He matches, Alex Smith. He matches all those other guys when you calculate his running aspect of his game into what he does as an overall quarterback. Like this year, Cam Newton had a 59.1 completion percentage, threw for 22 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Now let's look at a guy like Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan threw for 4,251 yards. He had 64.2 completion percentage, 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So Cam Newton, when you calculate his running game into it, because he had 6 rushing touchdowns, over 700 rushing yards. So as a total, he had over 4,000 total yards. He had 28 touchdowns, and then he has the 16 interceptions. So when you combine that with the fact that Matt Ryan, him and Matt Ryan have similar production, and me and Nigel have talked about this a while ago, that when you calculate Cam Newton's overall production, it is similar to those in that Class B area. Class A is the best of the best when you're talking about guys like Rodgers, Brady, and so on. But when a guy like Kelvin Benjamin is claiming how Cam Newton isn't the most accurate guy, or he doesn't have the knowledge and stuff like that, well, let's be fair here, because let's not act like Kelvin Benjamin is the most pure route runner in the game, or he gets the most separation. Aside from his rookie year, he had 73 receptions for 1,008 yards and 9 touchdowns, and that was when he first was selected by the Panthers. But then he missed the whole 2015 season because of a torn ACL, and his usage in the offense went down as the years followed after that. In 2015, he missed that whole year. That's the year Cam Newton won the MVP. So it's one of those things where you look at it and you're like, okay, well, a receiver that's that big like Kelvin Benjamin, he doesn't get separation, so obviously the ball has to be pinpoint accurate. But a lot of times with those kind of receivers, it hurts your offense more because you're force feeding the ball to them. Quarterbacks never have the highest completion percentage throwing to guys of that caliber. Even though he's a good player, Kelvin Benjamin, let's not get it twisted. He's not no Calvin Johnson. He's not a prime Dez Bryant. He's not a Michael Irvin. Those kind of guys that go up and get the ball and very physical. He's not a Julio Jones. And Julio Jones can still create separation. When you can't create separation and you're just a big body, that he's not a Rob Gronkowski kind of guy that boxes guys out. But Rob even can still create separation. That's the problem. Kelvin Benjamin, you're complaining about the fact that Cam Newton isn't premium accurate, and yes, I'm not debating that he's not accurate, but when you're saying that throwing guys like Eli Manning and stuff into the hat, and Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers is the creme de la creme, yes, but Aaron Rodgers also has receivers that are able to create space and run routes accurately. I'm not saying Kelvin Benjamin doesn't run routes at all accurately, but I'm saying he's not the most stellar route runner for a guy that cannot create separation. When you cannot create separation, a lot of times your route running becomes a big aspect of how good of a player you are as a receiver. Just ask Larry Fitzgerald. He's one of the best route runners, if not the best route runner in the league right now. And he has the best hands. So it's weird to me because think about what happened when Dez Bryant essentially lost the ability to separate. Everybody's been talking about Dez Bryant saying he's not as good a player anymore because he lost that talent. Wouldn't most people say Dez Bryant is better than Kelvin Benjamin? I think so. I believe so. So now it's like one of those things where we're going to chastise Cam Newton saying Cam Newton can't do this or Cam Newton can't do that. Well, those big play receivers are never the guys or the receivers that can't create separation and only can get the ball from catching over guys. Those guys are never the best targets to throw to. They're never the best receiving options. Even Matthew Stafford, he was playing with Megatron, Calvin Johnson, for years. The offense really opened up once Megatron retired. Because when you have to force feed those kind of guys and your offense is sometimes you're going to take L's on possessions because you're forcing a bad throw to an excellent talent. Now, Kelvin Benjamin isn't the talent that Megatron or some of these other guys are. So that's why it's like when you hear him bellyaching about Cam Newton as a player and everything like that, now Cam Newton does have to improve because, he was 18th among active quarterbacks in career passing rating at 85.3. He's 27th in completion percentage at 58.5. So it's not like Cam Newton is beyond the apparel of criticism, but I just don't want to hear from a guy that he's not the most stellar, because you can turn that criticism right back around saying why can't you create separation. You're not as fast. You're not the best route runner. Your hands aren't exactly the best in the league. So there's a lot of criticism to go both ways. I just don't like the thing that it seems like everybody's you just easily go with the wave of motions that throwing Cam Newton under the bus. The Panthers were 11-5 last year without Kelvin Benjamin having any kind of contribution or major contribution. So that it's one of those situations where I understand that you can criticize Cam, but don't give me the whole thing about, oh man, you're going to name Aaron Rodgers and whoever else. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league, arguably, next to Tom Brady. You're going to name me Eli Manning? Eli Manning was going downhill until Odell Beckham Jr. showed up. Look at the numbers. It's true. Eli Manning's career numbers were going down. And then Odell Beckham Jr. shows up, spikes them right back up. But notice, Odell Beckham's a guy that runs routes accurately, has great hands, is a speedy receiver who can create separation. So it's not like the balls, when they're being thrown at him, are bad intended passes. Like, he's getting thrown the ball and he's creating space, so he's creating an actual target. I just think, man, that Cam Newton criticism sometimes is just cool to go with the wave. But if you really are analyzing the game and you're seeing, like, you're breaking down certain players, like, I think he fits right there in that B class with me, with the guys like Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, and so on. If you're gonna take him out of that B class and you're putting him in that C class, that's gonna be a tough case to make, because you're saying B class guy. The only guy, to me, Big Ben is AB. That's what he is. He's AB. Just because of the fact that he fluctuates between both classes, but he's AB. But that A class is definitely stands out amongst the rest. Whatever you give them, they're going to make the most out of it. And the B class, they need help, but they will produce in their own. They will produce in a manner, but they do need like a lot of help. But the A class doesn't need that same level of help to be able to produce. But all right, that's gonna wrap it up for the KBR Sports Podcast today. It's been Brendan Abbin with the KBR Sports Podcast, the best sports podcast of your 24-hour day. Remember, you guys can follow my Twitter page at Abbin Brendan. And make sure if you want to get all my content at one central location, it's going to be on BrendanAbbin.com with my blog, my podcast, and everything else on there. So go check that out. And also follow the KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports, where the links and topics are tweeted prior to my shows and afterwards as well. And don't forget that you should follow, subscribe, like, and share the KBR Sports Podcast, y'all, just to give some support. I appreciate everybody tuning into the podcast. And y'all, make sure you give me some ideas for what you guys want to hear on the next episode in the comments or reviews, anything like that. I definitely want to keep you guys involved in what's going on in the podcast. So until next time, guys, I'll see y'all later.